Hey everybody, Thyworm here with yet another video, and today we're talking about Solar Purge. Solar Purge is an action RPG. It's comparable with Kill Squad or The Ascent. It's a sci-fi top-down shooter developed by indie studio Hitscan Games. The game is currently in early access and it has only a few features. This game focuses on co-op and shooting monsters together, which means that I'm not really the target audience. The main attraction therefore is also the Holo Chamber, a randomly generated mission where you need to kill a certain number of monsters in order to spawn a boss, and then you kill the boss and then you go to the next floor and basically do the whole thing all over again. Your character gets better over time, you get more loot, you get more powerful skills, and the levels become harder as well. It's just not a game mode I am a huge fan of because it's basically a wave-based arena setting, and I simply don't enjoy those because I find them monotonous and tedious. And specifically in this game, in Solar Purge, this game mode is also monotonous. You're constantly replaying the same level, the same bosses, there's not a lot of variety, and that doesn't really help the whole game mode. Last month, Solar Purge released patch 0.2.4 with significant updates to the Holo Chamber. There's a whole new one, it's called Lockjaw Prison. Overall, it received quite some polish. You can now determine when you spawn the boss by walking over a red hologram. Bosses spawn enemies which drop ammo and currency. Floors take more and more time to spawn the boss, making higher floors take longer. There's a grace period of 5 seconds implemented before you get swarmed with enemies, which is kinda nice, and the short bit of Holo Chamber I played felt pretty decent. The main point of interest for me, however, as mostly a single player gamer, was the updated campaign. The first half of the first campaign mission was released in January 2021, and that was the first significant update after a long period of not much happening at all, honestly. But since then, updates have gradually been rolling in. Back then, I thought the campaign was fine. When Lockjaw Prison Part 1 was released, I felt that it was somewhat uninspired and a little still. It did partly function as a tutorial as well, although this game doesn't require much of a tutorial, but overall it was nothing special. Lockjaw Prison Part 2, which got released in 0.2.4, is a lot more interesting. There are some new enemies, I like the new locations, there's actually a little bit of story. You can tell there's been a lot more attention to detail. For example, the story is about a pirate invasion in a prison cell for whatever reason, and at some point during the mission you see a bunch of pirate spaceships flying around. That's nice. The best features of the game, which are in my opinion the meaty and impactful combat and some pretty awesome sound design, still work very well also in the campaign. I had a much better time in Lockjaw Part 2 than in the first part overall. I do have a few points of somewhat random critique. What starts to annoy me a little bit when playing the game is the early access watermark in the middle of the screen. I don't understand why it needs to be there, and needs to be there in such a prominent manner. If you really need to let people watching footage know that it's early access, put it in the top left corner or something, like any other game. After all, people can purchase this game, which I'll get to by the way. I also think the default screen shake is a bit much. I mean, my screen is sometimes more shaky than Cloverfield, and I don't think it needs to be this much. A bit of screen shake can enhance the visceral feel of combat, but this is way too much. And a minor remark, but I noticed that reload times of guns seem to have a universal value. My assault rifle with 30 rounds reloads just as fast as my minigun with 300 rounds. That seems weird. Coming back to purchasing this game, despite my optimism and despite that I can really see this game going in the right direction, at the end of the day, Solar Purge charges you 21 euros, which is way too much for what you're getting. A very comparable game in terms of setting, its co-op top-down shooter and whatnot, that's Kill Squad, costs 1 euro less and has 10 times the amount of content at least. The Ascent will hit later this year, my guess is for around 30, maybe 40 euros, which is a direct competitor as well. And yeah, I've said this before, but Solar Purge at this moment in time should really cut the price in half. Because while there's definitely something potentially interesting cooking here, it is currently a game you play for 2 hours and then you've really seen it all, even in co-op. You can make the argument that you support the development of this game and that's all fine, but that's not how I look at game prices on Steam. And it's a valid argument, it's just not my view. Solar Purge is heading in the right direction but still overcharges that game, which is a shame. That's it, another cute little video. If you're enjoying these, consider subscribing, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you don't, and thanks for watching. Love you all, bye bye.